Hey guys, today I got another disassembly video. This time we're taking a look at a Brugger & Thommet APC9 Pro. So let's tear into it and see how this straight blowback with a twist works. Alright guys, so we're going to go ahead and kick things off by popping out our APC magazine here. And then the disassembly is going to be a lot like an AR-15 to start out with. We have the two pivot pins here, so one at the rear and one at the front of the lower receiver. These do get a little tight, so I'm just going to give myself a bit of an assist with this little pin punch. And you don't have to pop both out, you can just pop the rear one out and then it will hinge open like this. You can get all the guts out if you want to do it that way. However, I am going to go ahead and pop out the front one, which is the tighter of the two pins on mine here. So I'll go ahead and pull that guy across and our lower receiver will pop off. All right, now taking a look at our lower receiver, first we're going to start with controls. Our magazine release is going to be ambidextrous on both sides of the receiver here. It's more or less AR-15 style on placement, so very, very nice. Your safety selector is 45 degrees. And it is also on both sides of the lower receiver here. It can be a little bit tight, especially on newer rifles or submachine guns, whatever you want to call it. So that will loosen up a little bit over time and be a little nicer. Now our bolt catch, bolt release is going to be this little ledge here, and that's going to be on both sides of the receiver. And you can see it lifts up just this block here, which catches that bolt and holds it to the rear. Nice placement, and it's nice that it's a different movement than pressing in on the magazine release. Now, as far as our trigger group goes, these are compatible with some AR-15 style triggers. So you can see in there is an AR-15 style sear, as well as more or less the hammer as well. But these will not work with your cassette style of triggers that are self-contained, but some of the triggers like this one that are standalone, like your Geisley, stuff like that, will likely work, although I would do some research before actually committing to one of those for this. So next up for the upper here, we can just pop off our stock by pressing down on it and then pulling out. So here you can see the buffer here, so it's an oil type buffer, and it's actually very nice and works well, and it seems like these actually hold up quite well over time and don't run into issues with the buffer disassembling itself and leaking oil all over the place. But you can see it does say APC 940 or 45 on here, so the 223 and 300 blackout as well as the 308 buffers are going to be different. And then this is the very nice retractable stock, which is very, very smooth and incredibly expensive, but you can just pull it straight out and it'll lock all the way open, and then you'll have to press in on the catch there to collapse it. Back to the upper receiver here, you'll see our recoil spring is this little guy in the back, and we can actually just go ahead and slide that guy out. Kind of helps a little bit if you pull back on the charging handle, and then this will come out, and you'll see there is a little protrusion here at the end, and that guy is important because then we're going to have to put this little notch there, you'll see, in the disassembly hole, and then I'll go ahead and pop it out. I hit it with my finger on the other side, and you can see there is a groove in the center here, so this interfaces with that notch and that holds it in the receiver, so you'll have to take your spring out to get this guy out. Now the next part is getting our bolt out, which is incredibly easy. Just tilt it down and there is our bolt. Now, checking out the bolt itself, it is pretty simple because this is a straight blowback design. So you can see here at the face, we do have a cloth type extractor as well as a groove there for the fixed ejector, which is in the receiver. Now you can remove the firing pin from this guy, so you can see it there in the back. There is a pin right here, which you need to pull out. Best way to do that, and it's a little bit awkward, is to put a little bit of forward pressure on the firing pin and then use a punch. And there you'll see I went ahead and popped that pin out there. And it does have a nice little rubber O-ring in there so it stays in place well. And then our firing pin and spring will pop straight out the back. So if you ever do need to replace this, it is very easy to do. Coming back to the upper, so you can see we do have our charging handles, which are very, very nice, full to the front on both sides of the rifle. Now you can remove these, you just pull it back to the disassembly notch, and then go ahead and fling it across the room like that. And this side will hopefully come out a bit easier. You just got to wiggle it, get it in the right place there. So that'll pop out. And then there is going to be a carrier up here, which we can pop out the front. So you'll see if we pop this guy out here, it's just a polymer carrier, and then this little spring-loaded portion up here actually holds it forward, and it's very solid, quite a bit better than it is on the Streebog or some other designs. And finally, looking at the receiver itself, you can see it's pretty simple in there. This is basically a piece of extruded aluminum. You have M-LOK slots on both sides and some polymer rails which screw into the side here. I just took those out and threw some rail covers on there. And a short little Picatinny section up front. The barrel is held in with 3 screws on either side of the receiver, so you can kind of see it in there. So it is potentially removable and replaceable. However, they don't really sell too many replacement barrels for these, so good luck trying to find something to replace that with. And then looking on the inside here, you can also see we do have a fixed ejector, which is attached with these screws on the outside. So should that break for any reason, that should be pretty easy to replace. You can see we can get down into the chamber there. There's plenty of room to clean except for this little ledge in the back here. And overall, it's a very, very nice design. Alright guys, and here's the B&T APC9 Pro fully disassembled. So thank you guys for checking out the video. Please like, share, subscribe, and check out the full review on this guy. It's one of my favorite PCCs out there, and stay tuned for more content.